What's up guys, it's your boy, Veteran Hunter, 3,000 hours minimum. So I'm going to be doing today's video because Henry recently watched Her, and then Lost in Translation, and then Her again, and he's going through it right now. He's just been sitting there listening to the soundtracks of the movies. I think he's going to be okay though, but I'm still a little worried about him. You alright, man? Yo. He's gonna need a minute. Anyways, before we get started talking about this mod, I want to do a quick disclaimer. This mod is pretty game altering, obviously. Use it at your own risk. I definitely recommend using it alone and not online. And hell, it could even crash your game if you try to play with other people. So if anything happens, that's on you. Use this mod and any other mods at your own risk. Anyways, check this shit out. Alrighty, so let me give you guys a quick rundown of this mod because it's pretty interesting. So the modder was very creative with how they went about making this mod. He tried his best to emulate a Brave mode or a Valor mode as close as he could. How it's going to work is that the red spirit gauge represents Brave mode or Valor mode. Alright, I'm going to say Valor mode from now on. While everything else represents you being out of Valor mode. While not in Valor mode, as you might expect, you don't have access to your full combos. You'll be able to do your 2 overhead slashes, the rising slash, and the circle button thrust. And you can start your spirit combo, but you can't actually finish it. At least not in the way you're used to. We can do the world equivalent of the Valor sheath in the form of the special sheath by pressing R and X. Like the actual Valor sheath, it will drain stamina while you hold it. However, it drains much slower than it does in GU. So currently you can just hold it for a long time. Also, even though you need to press R and X to go into the Valor sheath, you only need to hold R to keep it up, and you can let go of X once you're in the stance. You won't dodge attacks completely unscathed, like in GU as well, which is pretty cool, but it's definitely not as punishing as it is in GU. You'll take only like a little bit of chip damage. This Valor special sheath is also way faster than the real one, and it's also a lot quicker than your regular sheath, so it's probably better to just use this one in general. Out of your new Valor special sheath, you can do a fade slash, you can do a rising slash by pressing triangle, which will give you some gauge, and it has the same properties as the EI slash, which will cause the gauge to start to fill. This is very useful because you need a full gauge to do the last option available, which is a spirit round slash. Now, a landed round slash will get you to the next spirit gauge level. So, unlike the real Valor mode, you'll need to increase your spirit level 3 times, instead of having just the one blue gauge. But this is a small price to pay because in red gauge, aka your new Valor mode, you can actually do another spirit round slash at any time to refresh your Valor mode, which is incredibly powerful and will probably be tweaked. Once you're in Valor mode, your sword will glow blue, which is a nice touch, and you'll have access to the fade slash in any direction, but you now have the famous Valor combo. The first swing of your spirit slash will now act as a guard point, and the rest of the combo will follow just as it does in GU, finishing with the awesome looking double overhead slash. Now again, really quick before I proceed, I really want to say that if you plan to use this mod, definitely only use it solo. I think that should be the case with most of the real game altering mods, like anything more than just aesthetics, but especially this one since it affects the moveset of Longsword. I'm pretty sure it might crash your game if you play with someone else, especially if they're using Longsword too. I don't know for sure, and I don't plan on testing it. Alrighty, so now for using your new Valor style. As I mentioned before, despite needing to increase your gauge 3 times, the trade-off you reach for your new Iceborne Valor mode is not that bad, because you can reach red very easily, and you can stay in red indefinitely, as long as you throw in a spirit round slash here and there. Also, it's worth noting that you can Valor sheath after a spirit round slash to completely cancel the endlag. So, at least right now, it looks like the fastest way to get into Valor mode is to essentially Valor sheath, do a rising slash, any other attack, which should give you a full gauge, then do Valor Sheath round slash, cancel it into another rising slash, and do it again and again. Overall, it's not as fast as just having the one blue gauge, but it's still pretty quick to get into it. Alright, let's get into some more details. That first Spirit Slash guard point is actually not a guard point really. It's more like the counter that the longsword can do now in World, at least in the way that it functions. Yes, you essentially slash through an attack while dealing damage, but the guard point is pretty much treated as a dodge, with the hitbox placed over it. I guess it wasn't possible to truly add a guard point to the longsword, but this is a really cool way to go about it though. Because of this, kind of like the in-game counter right now, the evasion mantle will actually proc with your guard point. It also procs with the Valor Sheath in general, so that's good to know too. In GU, when you would do a guard point, you would take absolutely no damage because it was a guard, but here you'll still take some chip damage since it's considered like that weird parry dodge that we have. Another thing to note is that using the first Spirit Slash on its own without having countered anything will drain all of your gauge, but it'll give some back if you land that successful hit. But it won't give enough back to actually do the whole combo, so you'll have to throw in at least one attack to have enough gauge to finish the spirit combo. However, if you actually counter something, then the first hit you do will actually reward your whole gauge back, like the actual in-game counter, in which case you can do the full combo no problem, if you don't want to add any extra hits. Also, whether it's a successful counter or not, if you want to dash forward like you can in GU, then you can't just hold forward. You'll have to press circle during that attack to do that forward dash. Also, you move quite a bit forward, so be careful. After a successful Spirit Slash combo, the end lag is a bit long and a little clunky. It takes some time before it lets you roll, Fade Slash again, or even Valor Sheath again, so be careful. If you didn't end up flinching the monster, you could put yourself in a tight spot. For now, I've been either Fade Slashing to reposition, or just doing a Valor Sheath to do a Rising Slash and get more gauge. Alright, and honestly, aside from those pretty important differences, it plays pretty similarly to the GU Valor style we all know and love. But I'll leave you guys with some of my thoughts. When it comes to using it, it's still pretty clunky, but it's totally understandable since it's literally recreating an old moveset. For what it's worth, this mod is pretty damn impressive and will probably be updated as time goes by. PC is already more or less considered in a category of its own, so I'm curious to see if we will get any more modded playstyles and if people will maybe even speedrun with them. A couple of players I know have already given it a try, and I'll link those below if you want to check that out. I think there are some pretty glaring issues with the mod still. For one, you can indefinitely stay in Valor Mode, which is definitely really strong. It's kind of like permanent red shield, but just even more crazy. And it feels a bit too strong with some attacks. I don't know the motion values exactly, but I've been practicing a lot of longsword lately, and it looks like the double overhead slashes seem to be hitting just as hard as a successful EI Spirit Slash, which is a lot of damage for the frequency at which you could put these out. Also, the hit placement of the guard point and the overhead slashes can be a little weird sometimes. That being said though, I'm a huge fucking fan of GU, as you all know, and Valor Longsword's a lot of fun, and this raised interest in a lot of players who do hop in between the two games at perhaps having the chance of playing things like Valor Hammer or Valor Greatsword in world style graphics, and perhaps even more. I can say with confidence that the developers definitely don't like game-changing mods like these. However, as many of the mods from MHWorld did, they definitely send a message to what the player base is interested in. We had mods doing things such as giving the DualShock prompts for the controller, or putting all the NPCs in the gathering hub, and several other things that actually made its way into Iceborne. In a way, mods, especially the most popular ones, are like almost a direct message by the players, or at least some of the players, of what they like, what they don't like, and perhaps what they want more of. Basically, I'm saying that mods show a demand, whether it's for gameplay, quality of life changes, or aesthetics. And I'm thinking there's a possibility that if the developers see that people are taking the time and effort to make these mods, if the changes are reasonable enough, they might take it upon themselves to do it in the future or in the next game. Or maybe none of this stuff will happen and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Anyway, go check out this mod. It's pretty damn cool. Use it at your own risk. Check out this guy on Twitch. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace. 支えてくれる人たちに日頃の思いを込めたラプソディアプリシエーションな気持ちを届け